What is something that really freaks you out on an existential level? How you can trace the whole path of your life to some small, seemingly inconsequential event. Decades ago, when I was new to this area, I met a guy on the golf course and we became friends. I met others through him, and now 90% of my friends and contacts can be traced back to that meeting. If I had not golfed that day, or got one extra red light on the way to the course, would I have a whole separate set of friends now? That every public institution, every province of government, every law of any nation, it all works because a sufficiently high percentage of people silently assent that it does. It doesn't matter what type of government is in place. If 70% of the population woke up tomorrow and decided that currency has no value and governance is unnecessary, that's exactly what would happen. That the tiniest, most inconsequential decision can completely change the entire course of your life. Nearly 20 years ago, I needed some new shoes for work. As a poor student, I got the cheapest pair I could find. 2 days later, I was supposed to be going straight from work to a club with my friends when, halfway through my shift, the sole half ripped off one of the shoes. I didn't have enough time to get home, change my shoes and get back to work before everyone left for the club, so I just went home and gave it a miss. That night, I started chatting with someone on a forum. A year later, went to visit them in America. 2 years later, I moved to America and we got married. 10 years after that, we both moved back to the UK. Had I chosen a different pair of shoes, I'd never met my wife, never moved to America, and my life would be completely different now. Because shoes. What percentage of my life do I even remember? My childhood is a dim memory, but so are many average days of my adult life. Thinking about getting married, moving on my life, having kids, etc. I am 19 and in college RN, and for some reason I can't shake the thought that I am never going to get the chance to move on. It's surreal, like I am a different species than normal people or something. I don't recall what made me think it, but randomly dawned on me a few years ago. Every asshole that cuts you off in traffic, everyone you see eating at a restaurant, every last person you see has a life they're living just like yourself. They go through trials and tribulations just like you. On top of that, there are billions of people you'll never see, and they're the same way regardless of you knowing of their existence. When I realized that, it legitimately freaked me out that I went my whole life without realizing that. Thinking they're like a background actor in my life. Just made me feel so insignificant and made me question whether me being here or not really even mattered. I still think that occasionally 10 plus years after that realization. Edit, I couldn't remember the term for it, but it's called sonder. Thanks for the reminder, folks. This photo. Chimpanzees. I have never really been able to articulate this as well as I would like, but the existence of chimpanzees is deeply disturbing to me in a very indescribable fashion. They're basically us except for a few very minor and completely random mutations that made us slightly better at analyzing patterns and communicating with each other. Whenever I see a chimpanzee, I am really confronted with the fact that we humans are just another animal species, mostly controlled by instinct and making our decisions based on an incredibly biased framework of sensory perception and mental processing that was developed to survive a hunter-gatherer lifestyle on the African savanna. Did you know that to show submission to the leader of their pack, chimpanzees will come before him and bow to show their respect? That blew my mind because humans have been bowing to their leaders since we had leaders. And we can invent all kinds of justifications for it. He's descended from the gods. He led our armies to victory over the foreign barbarians. I agree with his views on tax policy. But at the end of the day, we're just apes bowing before another ape who groomed us well enough to become the pack leader. That is so fucking disturbing to me I can't even describe it. Is the person who wakes up the same as the me that went to sleep? Or a new consciousness that just remembers everything I did? Am I just the sum of my memories? What makes me, me? Every time we step outside of our houses could be the time we never come back. At any moment, some freak accident could happen and kill any one of us. Our lives are just an endless stream of consciousness, worrying about our own problems, worrying about this, worrying about that, but it could all come to a screeching halt in a split second, and we'd be gone from the world in an instant. I am a biker. I think about this every single time I straddle that seat, every time I put on that helmet. This could be my last ride. That's the risk I take with a hobby that I love. Edit. Your responses are incredible, but let me clarify. I ride a motorcycle, not a bicycle. I am no one. I will be forgotten after I die because I will not have left a big enough impact for it to be recorded in history. My name might be spoken by loved ones, touched on fondly until they've passed, but after that I will be nothing. My struggles will mean nothing. Everything I've worked towards will be erased, like it never happened. I am not special. I am exceedingly average. What caused the Big Bang if nothing existed? Or has something always existed, and if it has, where did that come from? Non-existence after I die. Eternity of nothing and not knowing it. Everyone says, well, what about before you were born? Was that so bad? Well, no shit, that wasn't bad because I didn't exist. And plus that was obviously not eternity since I fucking exist now. But now that I currently exist, an eternity of not existing is such a mindfuck. Goddammit, I need a hug. That no matter how much you get to know someone, no matter how much you share your life, learn about them, feel as though you are almost the same person, there will always be an infinite gulf between who you think they are, and who they really are. You cannot know someone else, you can only know your perception of them. Your experience of that person flows through the filter of your personality, your experiences and memories, your biases and intuitions. You don't know them, you know your conception of them. Subjectivity of experience makes truly knowing another person completely impossible. We are all perfectly isolated souls, completely separate from everyone else, desperately reaching out to convince ourselves we aren't really alone. My mom had a miscarriage before me. I often wonder what this world would be like if that baby made it. What would they experience? Who would they be? I am gonna try answering with a positive twist. Death, life, and time are interchangeably meaningless. You can be dead and continue to exist, influencing the living in a manner indistinguishable from when you breathed and perspired. I had a friend kill himself a couple years back and I am still running into that motherfucker. He's still an active part in whatever life it is that I am experiencing. It's more than he's still in our hearts and serves as a bit of icing on an otherwise bland existential funereal cake. The more people that I lose, the less troubled by death I become. The closer I come to death, the friendlier it seems. Death invites us not to terrorize, but to remind us, none of this is real anyways. Come on in. This was said a million times, but there was a time where you played outside with your childhood friends for the last time and none of you even knew it. I probably won't be remembered. Pick a random day on this planet 1 billion years from now. Barren, baking in the light of an expanding red giant we once called the sun. None of us here and no trace that we ever were here. All of us lost to time. Our Earth just another void celestial object. I always realize the enormity of the universe when checking my mailbox. Walk down my driveway, mostly zoning out. My mailbox is across the street in the neighbor's front yard for some fucking reason, so I fart across the street. And it's always then that I look up, and see the moon or the stars and just feel hilariously ridiculous. Somehow the enormity of the universe stands out even more to me when I am pitting it against 2 spam credit card offers, an excise tax bill, and the grocery store flyer I throw out before even getting back in the house. It's just impossible to reconcile. All of the planets known to man fit between me and this space rock. I am a tiny speck, floating on a slightly less tiny speck, hurling wildly through the void of space, and hay bone and pork chops are $1.99 a pound. Neat. Edit. Hey, neat, thanks. Also, I guess enormity doesn't mean enormousness like I assume, so I learned something today. Far out in the future the universe will be cold, dark, and dead. Forever. There's absolutely nothing we, or anything else, can do about it. Knowledge lost. Societies that existed millennia before ours had incredibly complex social structures, massive infrastructure, built incredible wonders, understood boggling amounts of modern math, and did it all in harsher conditions with less technology. So clearly they were smart and capable, at least some. Imagine all the great knowledge that they had which we lost, all the theorems or observations they made in societies that lasted 10 times as long as many of today's, which disappeared in war or accident. Knowledge defines man. We are a species of filers, who wish to make pattern and sense out of chaos. Yet knowledge is so very fragile. This thread, nothing anyone has written is new to me, but seeing it all in one place is overwhelming. Why am I seeing through this set of eyes? Why am I me? Why am I not that person over there? I could have been anyone. Why is this consciousness in this body? Maybe nobody else is real. Edit. Rip my inbox of people trying to explain I and consciousness and brains. None of which answers the question. Edit 2. Yes, I've read the egg, and a lot of people are way overthinking my question. I have no interest in having kids. That means that I am the final result of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of evolution, and successful reproduction. Everything is disintegrating. Nothing is as immortal. The television remote on the coffee table will not be a television remote in enough time, even if that means thousands of years have to pass before it loses its intended form. Whenever I look into a mirror for too long I start to get freaked out that I'm looking at myself, and myself is looking back at me. Then I start to think about how my brain is witnessing itself in an infinite loop. Then I get freaked out and go about my day. How we could die at any second. Today, tomorrow, in a week, in the next 5 minutes, and nobody can stop it. Death is one of the true guarantees of life. I'm not sure what's worse, knowing you're dying, or dying without knowing it. Chaos. The thought that the universe just gets more and more disorganized freaks me out ever since I learned about it in school, so I just pretend it doesn't exist. It takes a, admittedly microscopic, amount of time for your brain to process every stimulus that you receive. This means that you are never perceiving reality in real time. There's the slightest delay between reality and your perception of it. My funeral will probably be attended by less than 10 people. This thread. Thanks for the multi-tiered existential crisis at work. When I am traveling by plane in a different country and I am looking down to the ground and see cars, buses and everything driving around on the countryside or a city, and I think to myself, down there is people living life exactly like I do and doing their everyday thing. Makes me think how big the world actually is and how tiny you are as a person. That freaks me out a bit. That it's a strong possibility I'll be alone with no family by the time I die. All my friends are married and having kids, and I am just here like, well, maybe I'll try dating again. People say life isn't a race, but if you aren't at the same pace as everyone else when they leave you behind for their own lives, then it's not really a race anymore, is it? You just kind of hobble for a decade, then cry at intersections when a red light takes too long. I can never truly understand how another person perceives the world. Are we touching the same thing? Is our sense of smell similar? If I say it's the color red and the other person agrees, how do we know we are seeing the same shade of red? And vice versa. No one else can feel what I feel, what I think, and truly understand my existence. My perception is a result of my organs sensing my stimulus and interpreting them through my own unique mindset, memories, and experience. I can communicate. We can all try to empathize. We write, read, sing, create videos, create wide media to share our lives. We love and care. But we are all truly alone. Always. Our perception is the only one that is available to us and no way to share it with another. Every so often I'll see myself in a mirror and am reminded that I am a conscious person able to influence the world around me. Sometimes I get so hung up on the daily routines and the little challenges here and there that I forget that I am a mind connected to a physical body. It's fucking surreal for a few seconds, but then I realize that it's always been like this. Edit. Thank you for the gold. I totally did not think this happened to other people. What did the part of the city I live in look like 1,000 years ago? How will it look 1,000 years in the future? 10,000? 100,000 years? How much of what's here now will survive? That whatever I did in the past are now just memories, even yesterday. Even though sometimes it feels like my childhood just happened, it was 20 years ago and they're memories. Did those actions even happen? It's hard to explain the feeling. No matter what you're doing in life, you could probably have made a decision that would make you happier right now. The fact that I will never know how things turn out, what becomes of the world once I'm gone. I only understand life as the version I've lived. I never get to know the future. How much quicker time goes by as you get older. Remember when you were 5, and a summer vacation felt like a whole lifetime? I just want to be a kid again.
Like, subscribe, and check out our TikTok for more content.